Okay, well, Assassin's Creed Shadows and me have a very special relationship. Not only have I fought with thousands of shills online over this stupid game and how it was made and how it was made for one specific reason, but I've also made some videos on it that garnered a lot of controversy and had a lot of discussions about it. Now, for Assassin's Creed for me, it was on the perfect trajectory for me personally. It was a game that had a massive amount of greatness in the gaming sphere. It was a game about cool things and time periods, and you can explore all these different worlds and do all this cool shit. But somewhere along the lines, they just screwed up. They just screwed it all up. They lost all it. So the perfect trajectory was, you went from Black Flag to Unity to Syndicate to, the Origin system, and then the GOAT, which is Odyssey, which to this day I think is the best Assassin's Creed game, let alone the best ancient Greece game that exists that you can play right now. It's a fully fleshed out world. It's really cool, great voice acting, very cool stuff. And then, of course, by the time they went into some of the other time periods, and of course the inclusion of Sweet Baby Inc. in Valhalla, which I haven't played it. I'll probably get it on sale one time. I was never really fully into it, but it doesn't look half bad. And that's what a lot of these consultancy companies do sometimes, is that they just sit by the sidelines and go through dialogue and see if anything's offensive, but ultimately it's up to the narrative team to design it. But of course with Shadows, they fucking just boom hit the absolute thing. And we're starting to realize why that happened. Now, the recent news that came out that's all over everywhere is former Assassin's Creed boss says he did not leave voluntarily. I stayed at my post until Ubisoft asked me to step aside. And we're starting to see that this guy was maybe a little a part of that rot in Ubisoft. Now, I have no faith they've gotten rid of all their woke retards. Perhaps this guy was more of the right leaning. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know the guy. I don't really. Let's see. Marc-Alexis Côté asked to step aside. He's from Quebec, so he could very well director Assassin's Creed franchise. He could very well be a part of all this badness that's going on. But at any rate, he probably got shit canned. And of course he is not going to say anything bad about Ubisoft because let's see what retards at Kotaku say about this. Assassin's Creed boss breaks silence. I did not make that choice. Kotaku is very this is what makes me think this guy was a part of a lot of this fucking rotten wokeness in this is because he was very quick to say that, or Kotaku and all these woke people were very quick to run to his defense and saying, it was Ubisoft, they're the ones who got rid of him. And he kind of seems like he would be just like the shill for like, let's make a game about a black person in feudal Japan. It's like they ruined a great idea that people have wanted for so long. Not only with that, but with Naue, who just seems, and I've seen a lot of the voice acting. She's very hollow character, zero personality. A lot of the interactions with characters in that game, it's very wooden, stiff, almost like an AI had, been doing it. It yeah, it's weird stuff.
Battery 50%.
Lost sound for some reason. But yeah, it's one of those things that really like. Oops, there we go. my hilarious fucking my hilarious song that goes so well with this dumb gaming news. But yeah, at any rate, what we have is we have um we have these things in gaming. Okay, so we have this Ubisoft who is clearly not doing very well. Ubisoft is shit canned this idiot. You know, they're and I've fought with so many retards online about this, is that you realistically speaking, like, you cannot look at Shadows as anything more than a fucking failure, because it just is. You know, they're laying off studios, they're canning bosses, their stock has plunged to the fucking absolutely cratered, and yeah, it's just weird. And my theory is that they would never come out and say a game that's central focus around an African dude was a problem. They just never would. They never would do that. And the reason they never would do that is because they would feel themselves as so quote unquote offensive. So Kotaku is quick to say, Pasto is deeply emotional, his statement begins, sharing that people's messages sent to him have meant a great deal. However, he noted in a recurring theme of those messages was that people surprised he had chosen to leave Assassin's Creed. No, he wasn't. They walked into the office and they shit canned them and said, you know what, your time here is done. Sorry. Assassin's Creed Shadows was a major flop. We have to do some restructuring. We have to change our trajectory. There's something going on at Ubisoft for this to have happened. Because this guy was there for like 20 years. Like, he was just like a part of Ubisoft. This statement is very, very interesting too. I also owe it to my teams, past and present, to say this plainly. I did not walk away. I stayed at my post until Ubisoft asked me to step aside, aka was fired. Like, sorry, like, that's just how it is. And I imagine this guy was a part of some of the games that I loved over time, but the problem is with this wokeness stuff, and it's like with this Sweet Baby Inc. companies, that they come across as like narrative design. They look over it all to make sure it's not offensive to any minorities or sexualities or any of that, and it's inclusive to everyone. But these rots start to happen where they're starting to change the story and they're starting to influence, the main character. And somewhere along the lines in Shadow's development, they were like, hey guys, let's put a black guy as the main character in this feudal Japan game. And everyone was like, and they were like, yeah. And it just like, everybody had to adhere. Now let's look at Ubisoft's stock price, because I've fought with morons online. Look at it, just keeps going down. Every single one is in the red, and you look at it, it's hilarious. But I mean, like, the hilarious thing is this, is that you can argue with all the shills online, Ubisoft shills, Assassin's Creed Shadows shills, you can argue with all of them. No matter what you say, no matter what you prove, no matter what facts you bring to the table, they're always going to think that it's just like, Shadows was great. Everybody loves Shadows. Like, it was the best selling game of all time. But, like, how do you fucking explain this? Because, like, that is when Shadows began development, theoretically. So they were riding high on the success of Valhalla and Odyssey. Great trajectory for video games, by the way. Massive open worlds, rich stories, huge amount of player choice and how they go and they do stuff, and authentic as possible to the setting, the feelings, and maybe they had some weird shit with aliens here and there, but generally you felt like you were being thrust into this like realistic kind of experience where you could be this assassine. And then it just craters. This Shadows wasn't a thing. It's not a thing. It's just not a thing. It was a thing that a lot of people just groaned at. A lot of fans, the exact same story as me, is they're just like, fuck. Not playing as a fucking, like, not playing as a 6'10" black dude in fucking feudal Japan. It's just not happening. Sorry. I'm not going to be a part of that experience. I'm not gonna buy into Shadows and its stuff. So you get stories like this where it just craters the stock price, you've paid for it in blood, so to speak. And it's going to keep going down unless they come up with something really good. Now let's look at Shadows itself, because you will never get accurate numbers because they just don't want people to know about them. Obviously, it's gone terrible, but I mean, there it was like the most hotly anticipated game of all time. So they're able to pull some numbers out of their ass. But look at that. Veilguard reached 90, 80, 89, 90K on Steam, and the Shadows didn't even reach that. It was under that. So they greatly underperformed. Now we'll never get the Xbox numbers, we'll never get the PlayStation numbers. They're just not gonna tell us that ever. Um, 1.7 million, and those numbers, it's like, where do they get those from? Seriously. Uh, Steam's definitely lower. To 300 million in development. Jesus Christ. The sheerness of it. So either it was a massive failure or was enough of a failure for it to just not really. They wanted it to be this big thing because now everybody gets to play as an African in feudal Japan. It's the same thing with Yote. Is that, no, yeah, now it's a feminist thing, and now Japan, because they know people love feudal Japan. But what do we love in feudal Japan? We love how authentic it is. It's an authentic experience. So when you start bringing in feminists and lesbians and black people, it just doesn't make it good. You can have like a fantasy, like if you had a feudal Japan game that was open world and there was like mummies and zombies and ghosts and cool, monsters and stuff. That's fine, but you're bringing modern politics into a setting that just doesn't want it, doesn't need it. It will never be accepted. And this was the most catastrophic fucking fuck up of all gaming time. Now, the Steam numbers are interesting, and I felt the same way with Veilguard. Is that you have you have a base of people that play this game. Why? These are the woke minority. Whoops, make that like that. Yet you have the what I like to call the woke minority, and what they do. This is what they do. They came out with a DLC or whatever. This is around, like maybe 50,000, a very small amount of people, 50,000, maybe 80,000. They just go to these, new games, and this is like all they play. And they don't play it because it's a good game. They don't play it because it's fun. They don't play it because they enjoy it. They just want to envelop themselves in this wokeness, this like, I'm Yasuke, ha 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 ha, running through that. So we see with the numbers that it just cratered, and it's remained fairly constant for this whole time. Now, why is that? Why would so many people, not really so many, I mean, there are some games that, are made by one people that get hundreds of K people per that. But why do you have this 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 number that always just kind of seems to stick around lingering in this game? Why is that? Veilguard had the same thing. Veilguard for a long time was just like a couple thousand people. They were just there and playing it. Well, because it's a big first-party title game. These people obsess over this stuff. They're playing Veilguard, they're playing Shadows. This is their world, and they linger in this game. And like, it has never gone up. it's never gone whooping. Like no Shadows was never a thing. You gotta remember, this number is out of like 40 million people, like millions and millions and millions of people play Steam every day. So the amount of people that look at these owner estimations too. So you get this very tiny fraction of the game base that are just obsessed over this stuff, and they just kind of, the Yasuke and being black in feudal Japan is like kind of their identity. So that's where they kind of linger and play in it. It's quite funny. Now we saw some news about layoffs and stuff. 10-cent deal. Ubisoft have 19,000 employees. The downsizing was due to happen. Lots of cope. But what happened was there's a massive conglomerate of Ubisoft that had layoffs. Um, in January, July, September, uh, the company layoff. Yeah, so I mean it's going around, and then October this big head guy who's probably involved quite heavily in all this wokeness. I would imagine. I would say that this look at the very dark videos. I would say that the vast majority of these people who are just really toxic woke people running around these studios pushing all this stuff, I would say that majority of those people are probably still kicking around at Ubisoft. But this thing with this boss exemplifies the fact that there is some major fucking drama going on at Ubisoft. And these people are like at each other's throats over the fact that this is just not working for them. it's like and that's this, we've seen this with a lot of the woke games is that they they seem to think that most people are okay with we got diversity, we got LGBT representation, you can have these trans lesbians, and they think that that's just like the hive mind, that everybody kind of thinks that way, and there's this little group of people down in the side that are right leaning, Trump supporters hating on this, and it's just this tiny little group of people in the corner off there. Ignore them, make these games about wokeness, everybody will love you. But that's not the case. That is not the fucking case. The case is that most people are just normal. They're heterosexual people, and pretty much the entire gaming base of people is, white and Asian males. What is the age range? 14 to 36 or so. There's an age range of gamers, and that's like the whole gaming population. There was an article that came out saying like 50% of gamers or something were women. Have you ever met a woman? It's like there are gamer women out there, but even the most staunch, hardcore fucking gamer woman who does, makes gaming their whole personality will spend a lot of their time not sitting down playing video games in their little corner, not, grinding out, the latest RPG. Not, no, that's not most women. There are women that are like that. Not gonna lie, but most women, they want to be out and about socializing. They want to be, they're on Candy Crush and shit. If they are, occasionally for an hour and here or there, they're improving their lives. They're dating. Women just they're not like men gamers. Women have their own lives, and still in many women's views, a gamer is kind of a it's a subtype. Now, I'm not saying there isn't gamers out there that are women. They're hardcore. They play RTS games. Fiend for hours and hours on a day. Of course there are. There's every type of person. But I'm saying that most women, it's like almost all of them, are going to be the kind of women that if not, they completely think gamers are losers, and they're out socializing and going to bars, and they women yearn for success and life improvement. Getting a wealthy husband, going out and socializing and being popular, making something, self improvement, going to the gym, or just feeding their own desire of what they want. That's what they do. So, and male gamers, there are a lot of male gamers that are just like me. They're hardcore gamers. They will, they will interact with outside life as much as they can, but I mean, or as much as they have to. But video games are fucking it. It is the fucking awesomest thing. So for them to think that there's this huge audience, like this, the past hours have been deeply emotional. Reading all your public and private messages, it reminded me so much moments, people, and sharing time. Truth is simple. I did not make that choice, so you got shit canned. But like my central point was is that they somewhere along the line someone got the impression, and it's probably because of woke propaganda media, like globalist dumbass media that's trying to indoctrinate all these people. They think that everybody thinks like that. It's like, yeah, let's have diversity in games. And no, most people are just normal people, and they want authentic stories that feel realistic. They don't want forced diversity. They don't want all this weird sexuality stuff and games. Like that's most of people. Like, and then you have in reality this tiny little fraction of people. It's just over in this corner. This what 3 to 10,000 people out of millions that are like, let's put diversity and fucking everything in this game. So, I mean, the woke media is having a real hard time with this because basically what they have to come to terms with is the fact that the cracks are fucking showing. If it wasn't for Yote already being like, you got these two big feudal Japan titles of you got like fucking feminist lesbians, and you got fucking black and California. Like look at now Wade just, I don't know how they did it. It's a mystery of science. They must have used engineers and fucking scientists, but she just looks like a unbothered, kind of bitchy Californian art student who just sits. She doesn't look Japanese. Like look, she does not look Japanese. So let's bring it up here. Feudal Japan woman picture. I'm telling you, there is just something a fucking about her. She just does not look like it. Uh, yeah, yeah. Here we go. Okay, there we go. I mean, like, look at that shit. Like, it doesn't look anything like her. The eyes, and they probably did that for the way she looks. Very Asian heritage. The clothing style that they chose to choose to wear, this kind of look, it just doesn't at all look like that. The eyes are so not right, and they're trying to live up this. Oh yeah, this is a feudal Japan woman. Trust me, bro. This is something I was been talking about so much with this thing, is that is a real feudal Japan woman, and that is Norway. Isn't that weird? She just doesn't look like the skin color, the everything. And it's probably because what Ubisoft did was they said, we can't make them look offensive, even though to them offensive is like what they historically look like. And this isn't even the surface of it. I mean, Erika Ishii, trust me, bro, does not look Japanese at all. Even though maybe she partly is. Who knows? Who knows, Erika Ishii? But let's not get on to Yote too much because this is centrally about Assassin's Creed Shadows and this fucking guy. But I mean, that wasn't even the biggest problem. I mean, Naue does, like I said, look like a Californian art student who just hasn't worked a day in her life, kind of bitchy, vapes. She just looks like they had to fucking make that look like that. So it's not giving it a lot of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Shadows. But yeah, like that's what I'm telling you is that step. Okay, so here's IGN. So here's the main thing. So let's wrap this up. so to speak. So, in essence, you have three things. You've got Assassin's Creed Shadows and the stock tanking. Um, you have a shitload of cope online from people who are very defendant of Shadows because of its central woke theme of surrounding Yasuke, the black guy. We haven't really even talked about Yasuke much because me and Yasuke have a very. It's just such a weird inclusion. It's so weird. Isn't it just so fucking weird, their decision to add? I remember thinking this like almost a year ago. Or was that? Yeah, a year ago. A long time ago. I remember thinking, no, it's not. How fucking has it been a year? I don't know, more than 2 years ago. The first time I heard about um, Shadows is that it's just weird. It's just like, we're really there. Are we really there with this stuff? It's so weird that they decided to make something so unapologetically woke and obnoxious. It's like if you it's like if you wanted to do this. Like say you wanted to say there's like a bully, right? If you wanted to insult him, you're going to do the most insulting thing possible. That's what Ubisoft did with Yasuke. Is that they were going to take this setting of feudal Japan. They were going to take something that people wanted us and thought was going to happen out of that for so long, and they said, "What is the most obnoxious thing we could possibly do?" And they did it. And the thing is that it really affected them. So, 2005, holy crap, in the time for Brotherhood. That was a long fucking time ago. Taking increasingly senior roles. Black Flag. Oh, Freedom Cry. What was that one about? Syndicate. Syndicate was wild. I have a whole playthrough of Syndicate. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, you could feel a little bit of wokeness here and there. There was a random Indian guy who was your companion. You had Evie, which I think is a great character, who is a part of it. But it didn't ooze wokeness. You know, you could walk down the streets of Victorian or wherever it was, Industrial Revolution, London, and it was looked like it. It felt pretty authentic. But with this Yasuke thing, is that you just feel like they're just, and this was probably what Marc-Alexis Côté was like over time, is that he fell farther and farther into this ideology, which ultimately led to him doing that. Now, am I saying that there isn't people at Ubisoft that are against the Yasuke thing? Maybe. I would say that there's probably still a shitload of people at Ubisoft who are like still woke tard, fucking LGBT, all the flags, let's put black people in every video game ever made type people. But I think that Marc-Alexis Côté is the type of person who fell farther and farther and farther into he pushed farther and farther and farther, and potentially, I'm just saying potentially, there is rumblings in the gaming industry going, look, guys, we want to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. We want people to feel included in these games, but we can't take it too far anymore because it's affecting our sales. There are people who have intelligent ideals about all kinds of stuff, and they are able to have these types of things that are really in essence, um, what do I want to say? They have ideas that are like, okay, this is affecting sales. We are losing money. Things are going bad. We want diversity, equity, inclusion, and all this stuff, but it's fucking losing us money. So like, it's like, do you take the L and make more money, or do you continue on with your thing and lose money? business analysts, you're going to have like the woke diversity department going, no, no, we need to keep pushing this. We can't let the haters win, blah, 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 blah. But then you're going to have like the business analysts and the people saying, hey, look, like, this is when we started putting more wokeness in it. This is when we started losing more money. You take the ruler and you bring the ruler down in terms of profit, and like it's because of the wokeness. It's like, yes, that's what gamers have been saying all this fucking time. So this guy's just like, obviously this something involved in this, and maybe they had a boardroom meeting. Maybe this guy just lost it. Like, honestly, like, maybe they were in a boardroom meeting saying, hey, look, like, Shadows wasn't very, very good. People didn't really like it. There was lots of backlash over the Yosuke thing. We like diversity representation, but we can't really do this anymore. It's really hurting our bottom line. It sucks, but you know what? We got to take a more honest approach to these games. We have to make them more authentic. We can't just add diversity. And this Alex Côté guy was like, fuck you, gotta make the fucking haters pay, fuck them, they're racist, blah, 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 and belted out a bunch of shit, and that's what led to this. I think that's what happened because he kind of looks like he is a bit of a woke tard, and he was just pushing for more and more and more and more, and like, let's make the next Assassin's Creed game about fucking civil war, and you're a black guy fighting, Trump supporters, and that's what led to his firing. That's probably what happened. Ubisoft has totally shit the plot, um, and the data shows it. And the haters are never gonna fucking admit it. We saw it with Veilguard, we saw it with Shadows, we saw it with Yote, we're seeing it with Yote. Is that you could come out with a million woke failures, and these people are still gonna try and say it's a win. They just are. That's just what they are. They're never gonna change their opinions and be like, you're right, the wokeness, it's hurting these games. It's making people not want to buy them. We really need to stop doing this stuff so that we can all enjoy good games. No, they're not gonna fucking do that. Woke people and liberals, they think this very bizarre way is that their way is the best way and everyone else is just not right. And the Shadows is a prime example of how you took wokeness and you fucked it up. It's like wokeness is the reason. It's not because of changing markets or, growing sentiment or YouTubers making videos. None of that stuff matters. It's because they decided to make it woke. And what is woke? Woke is unnecessary additions of minorities, sexualities, and identities, ideologies that just don't align with the normal population of people. Normal people don't think like woke tards. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that most normal people could care less about if there's an equal diversity of different races in a fucking video game. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that kind of stuff, and they don't want it in their entertainment. And not only is the data showing it, but actions are showing it. Losses are showing it. And ultimately, Ubisoft just fucked Shadows up. And it is the prime example of how wokeness has not really destroyed gaming, because there's still plenty of amazing games that aren't woke that come out and are incredible, but it is hurt franchises, it is hurt people, and it is very much made for a fucking great time to make fun of just this stupid fucking thought process of these people. So yeah, that's my videos on Shadows. Hope you enjoyed it.